Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to another video. Today I'll be installing Windows 2000 on an IBM ThinkPad T42. We'll be using a 256 gig MC to SSD. Be replacing the CMOS battery. We might put some fresh thermal paste on the CPU while we're taking it apart. Then we'll install Windows 2000. So we'll probably have to install service packs, drivers, and then we'll go from there. Here's the new battery. The thermal paste doesn't look too bad, but I'm going to redo it anyway. And I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to see if I can clean up that wiring. Now everything's pieced back together. So let's see what happens when we turn it on. So the battery was out, and now it thinks it's 1988. Let's make sure that it recognizes the new SSD. Okay. It's a good sign. All there really is left to do is root Windows 2000 off CD. and see if it recognizes the disk. I just realized that using a 256 gig SSD might create some problems. I might need to partition this with Windows 7. I think this is before support for hard drives bigger than 137 gig was common. So it might not read the entire volume. We'll see. Okay, let's continue setup. Okay. Yeah, if you notice, about 131 gig in a 256 gig SSD. So I'm gonna try to make a partition with Windows 7, and we'll get back to this screen again. Looks like I lucked out, and I just so happen to have a burnt copy of Windows 7 Ultimate 32-bit edition. Lucky for us, this has a CDRW DVD drive combo, so I can boot into Windows 7, and we'll see in a minute if it actually reads the full volume. I'm inclined to believe it will. We can make 2 partitions, and then we can put Windows 2000 onto one. There we go. Now I see the full 240 gig. So, we do the math on that. That's 122,099. That looks pretty even. Just have this extra system partition. And let's format it for NTFS. I guess Windows 7, it's already NTFS by default. Okay, off by 1 megabyte. I don't remember if you actually have to format with Windows 7, but I'm just doing it just to be certain. Okay, so now when we go back to the Windows 2000 setup, you should see 2 roughly 120 gig partitions. Alright, here we go again. There we go. Could theoretically delete this system partition here. For now, I'm just going to skip that and install it to D. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it as it is. If I remember right, formatting takes a minute on Windows 2000, so I think it'll be fine with Windows 7 formatting. I've never installed Windows 2000 to an SSD before. I just installed Windows XP to one for the first time a few months ago on a Core 2 Duo Dell Inspiron, and it ran so well that I'm pretty excited to see what it'll do for 2000. I'll probably have to get some kind of tool to manage trim, but I'm not extremely concerned about it. Windows 2000 was very lean compared to XP, and it usually ran on about half the specs, half the RAM, half the CPU power. So, seeing it with a mid-2000s CPU that's kind of based on the Pentium 3s that were around during its era, with 2 gig of RAM and an SSD that's too big for it to actually recognize. A pretty nice setup. I know back in 2019 with Blackcat Kernel extension, you could still trick certain websites into working, and YouTube still worked on Firefox. I can attempt to try and get video playback working. That should have been what I named my business. GPR 2000. I'm just old enough to remember when everything ended with 2000. Headphones? No. Headphones 2000. Soap? No, sir. Soap 2000. ComPlus 2000. Since this laptop came out around 2003, 2004, it still has full dedicated drivers for 2000. 2K was pretty common, especially in enterprise environments, into around 2005. A little after Windows XP Service Pack 2 came out, it just kind of fell off the face of the earth. But it was pretty ubiquitous in the early 2000s. Most offices, hospitals, most buildings and offices you walked into, chances are Windows 2000 screensavers were on every monitor. I remember in, I think it was August 2005, when CNN got hacked. All their computers were running 2000 still, and they got infected by what was called the Zotobe worm, and they were getting news in the old-fashioned way. It was funny to watch it happen live. I think that's the last major incident I can recall with Windows 2000. It still got support for years after that. Basically into 2010, I believe. I'd say in hindsight, it is a very underrated operating system for what it brought to the table, what it introduced. A lot of modern Windows has its roots in 2000. Just gonna skip that for now. Okay, still no sound. 16 colors. I think it's 16 colors. Oh yeah. That's all you need. Oh wow, this is just vanilla Windows 2000. It's kind of cool seeing the logo in such a low color format. Seeing this kind of gives me flashbacks to like 20 years ago, and trying to get drivers to the computer so I can get on the network. Fortunately for us, Windows 2000 had USB. Now, looks like I'm going to have to get some service pack stuff and drivers. I have at least 10 unknown drivers. That's right. Every time you unplug a flash drive with Windows 2000, you will get this unsafe removal of device notification. That used to be a serious problem. You had to eject the flash drive, or there was a small risk that you'd ruin it. I'm going to start by installing Service Pack 4, I think. Alright, we're on Service Pack 4. Do we have sound? Seems like the hotkeys and the Windows mixer are still separated. It's probably a driver to fix it. Now it looks like a modern operating system. It's working in 16 colors for about, I don't know, a half an hour. Jumping to this really is a big leap. So this is an SXGA Plus monitor. 1400 by 1050. Even now, that's pretty nice. Almost 1080p. I'm gonna go a lower resolution just for the sake of making this a little easier to see. About 800 by 600. I think that'll work fine. And we can turn it up to true color. Now that we're on Service Pack 4, I have a couple Windows XP icons. I've had this copy of Microsoft Office 97 for probably 16, 17 years, and I never used it once. And that changes today. Okay. So this publisher. And disk 1 with Word, Excel, Outlook, and so forth and so on. So I'm going to install both. Pretty sure Office 97 was the first one that had Clippy in it. Which means, of course, you're going to have to install it and then use Clippy. That's why everybody bought Office back in 1997. Look at how smug. Okay, so I'm getting closer to installing Kernel EX. I'm still on Internet Explorer 5, and I have to upgrade to 6, and then potentially install Service Pack 1. Alright, all the more reason to upgrade to the latest and greatest, which is, of course, Internet Explorer 6. Browser of champions. Run Internet Explorer 6. So we've gone from vanilla Windows 2000, the original release from December 1999, all the way to Service Pack 4, and the 2005 roll-up, lastly to the most recent version of Blackcat Kernel EX, which came out just this year, just a few months ago. Blackcat still supports Kernel EX for Windows 2000. It's been a passion project for a long time, and it's definitely worth taking a look into all the work that Blackcat's done. It's really cool that Windows 2000 got extended and became so much more usable. Okay, so as you can see here, I am connected to Wi-Fi now. As terrifying as the idea sounds, I'm going to open up Internet Explorer. Here we go. There we go. Ah, that's right. I just typed in archive.org. Back in these days, you needed to type in www dot before the website. If you didn't, then it would treat it as an MSN search. Since MSN, you know. So I have a Bing search. You know what? I'm gonna switch to a higher resolution for a minute. Go all the way up to max, because I want to see what this looks like on IE6. All right, so it's mobile. Still look up pictures. Alright, let's put this on retro mode. There we go. It's hot outside, so I'm going with snow trees. We'll enable active desktop. I used to make fun of this background all the time. I think when I was a kid, I even made one where there's like a comic bubble where he's like screaming. What's he jumping to? Where is he jumping from? Is that a representation of Windows taking a nosedive? Is the orange the peak, the pinnacle of the Windows NT kernel? Alright, look at 3D Flower Box. You could usually tell how poor a computer would run by trying to have it render the screensaver. Some older computers would run this so slow, so painfully slow. Just watching it this smooth, it's a good sight to see. Alright, let's try to find a modern browser. That'll be a fun challenge. I'm gonna try K-Meleon. I had good experiences with it on Windows XP. I think the version of Firefox that I used to use on 2000 is now a little too old. I believe it was Firefox 52 ESR for Windows XP. It was the last official Windows XP version. And in like 2020, 2019, I had to spoof it into thinking it was Windows 7. I don't think that trick will work anymore. So anyway, I'm going to install this. We have 2 gig of RAM, so the odds of actually getting online, using the modern internet, and potentially even watching a YouTube video or two are pretty good. You're pretty hopeful. Alright. Let's go to YouTube. I think in this case here, it's the Wi-Fi. It's faithfully loading the page. And it crashed. But it was faithfully loading the page. Now I'm curious. Better throw a block party. We're in the network neighborhood now. Go. Alright. Now I have an Ethernet connection. Let's try this again. Are we going to run out of RAM? Let's find out. And it crashed again. Let's just try to use the regular internet. Don't crash. Don't do it. I did it. We're only using 180 megabytes of memory right now. Okay, I'm going back to high resolution browsing. Old version was around back in the days when Windows 2000 was common. Oh, that looks awful. Get out of there. Like the second that I closed that that window, everything started downloading much faster. So I just installed VLC Media Player 1.1, which, if I remember right, can play at least 720p videos, and my goal is I want to see if it runs certain videos that I was trying to test out on Debian a little bit better. Just with this being so much more age appropriate, having native drivers, and a lot less bloat. Oh, let's try to run a PS1 game. So I'm running an old standalone PlayStation emulator, ePSXe. Some of you might be familiar with it. Some of you might not remember it. It was a really popular emulator back in the 2000s. It was really cool, and you could just put PlayStation games in your CD-ROM, and it would play them. I'm going to try to boot Parappa the Rapper. None of the controls are configured yet. Let's just see what happens. I might need DirectX. I might need it bad. MSVCR80.dll. It's my favorite DLL. It's one of those files that I've downloaded dozens of times, and yet never remember when or why. Maybe upgrading DirectX will actually make YouTube work too. Who knows? Right now we're on DirectX 7. So I installed that redistributable. It's reading it as a 600 megahertz Pentium 3. Might be because of speed stepping. And this is like, I think it's the first generation Pentium M. So it's very much like a 2-Allerton Pentium 3. This would be like a good Quake 3 laptop, I guess, in terms of ballpark specs. Alright, DirectX 9. DirectX 9.0C. And now it's reading it as a Pentium M. That might help us. Something, I want to say small, but big would be a proper definition for the CPU. I'm going to try YouTube again. Let's see what happens. Still crashes. Here we go again. If you time it just right when he opens his mouth, on this menu, it'll have the same face that he was making when you press the button.
Munchies for everyone, right? Yeah. Not only munchies, but little men, all dressed up for us. Ain't that right? Right. Yeah. What do you say? How about if you and I go for a little walk outside, huh? Let the punks stay and eat their food.
Stop it.
Those guys are so cool.
There's no need to fear. Because Joe Chind is here.
Hey, it's Joe.
I have traveled the 7 seas. I have crossed every mountain known to man. And I know that the mighty powers that I have are enough for jerks like...
I have no idea what the buttons are mapped to. This is gonna be fun.
Again.
What?
Okay. While we're here, I want to try something. I have an 8-bit through Sega Saturn USB controller, which I'm hoping is really plug and play. I would think those guys would have made it with retro in mind. That it would work on Windows 98 especially. Windows XP. Both of them are far more popular than Windows 2000 ever was. But usually 2000 gets a bone, so let's see. Plugging it in. Okay, HID compliant game controller. I think we're good. Okay, we're good. Saturn doesn't have L2 and R2, so I will just make something up for them. Playing Parappa the Rapper with the Sega Saturn controller is kind of surreal to me, but it's all good. It's all good. X is A. Square is X. Big motor is none. Story of my life. Now, we have a Sega Saturn controller. Still probably the best controller for 2D fighting games. I used to have Street Fighter Alpha 2 and a Model 2 Saturn for a bit, and that was great. I forgot to map the start button. It's all good. Alright, here we go again.
You gotta do what?
I got him.
Oh, alright. I'm not giving up on that just yet. If I can redeem myself.
Here we go now. Kick, punch, block. Kick, punch, kick, punch, chop, kick, block. Chop, kick, block. Chop, kick, block. No, time to kick it. Block, kick, turn. Block, duck, punch. Block, duck, punch. Block, duck. Duck, duck, turn.
Redemption.
Duck, duck, turn. Duck, duck, turn. Chop, kick, chop. Chop, kick, chop. Chop, kick, chop. Punch, punch, punch. That's it for today. Good job, Parappa. You can go on to the next stage now.
Yahoo! All right.
Now, the end of my simple introduction. Put up your fists, you evil crusaders. Let me knock you out.
Alright. One more matter of business. I downloaded this same exact video from YouTube on Debian with the same exact laptop, same specs, same RAM, same everything. And it's a 720p video. And this is a mobility Radeon 7500 with 32 MB of VRAM. But I have played 720p videos on Windows 2000 on this laptop before, and they ran pretty good. Usually, I'm hoping that using a more age-appropriate setup might actually make it run well. Let's see. Look at that. This runs great. Alright. That ran very smooth. When I ran that as a video file offline on Debian, it struggled a lot. And it had the latest drivers, but this is an ancient laptop. It's a very new version of Linux.
So that's Beerus the Destroyer, huh? He definitely looks strong, but it's weird, I can't sense any energy. It's been quite a long time, hasn't it, Northkai? What? That's Beerus? Wow, so that's what a Destroyer God looks like, huh? There's a small matter I'd like to discuss.
And might not have been so optimal. Let's see how it runs now.
Challenge this Beerus unless he does something really wrong, right? Get inside! Don't talk, don't move it, don't come out! Oh, screw your destroyerness!
Alright. You get the drill. That ran very nice. And at this resolution, it looks great. Seriously, this actually kind of looks like a modern OS running at such a tiny resolution. Well, I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Thanks for watching. And I hope I will have some more content sometime sooner than later. Okay, so that concludes the Windows 2000 special. Thanks for watching as always. I hope you enjoyed it. And the only thing I'd like to mention at this point is that I've been making a lot of hand-drawn comics lately, This is Night Owl Tech Support. I've been drawing these comics since 2014 and only recently really got the traditional style down. So I've been making a lot of them, and I've been uploading them to Webtoon. Links in the description of the video, and if you're interested, it's there. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.